the New York Jets early on.
Are you smiling?
Also,
there's no reason to smile. It was a football game that happened last night.
You know what? You asked me why I'm smiling. I wasn't smiling because I take any joy from it. Like, I literally told y'all during this offseason, literally a couple of weeks ago, the one take that I have that I feel the most disgusting about, it turns my stomach upside down, is that the Jets are going to win the AFC East. The Jets are going to win the AFC East. I think they have all of the pieces in place to do so, between the quarterback, the revamped offensive line, the supposedly elite defense. Breece Hall should be a top 5 back this year like he pretty much was last year. Garrett Wilson is the number 1 receiver. Remember, like they were saying, well, we're going to go out and get Devontae Adams. You got Devontae Adams at home, and Garrett Wilson showed us on a couple of plays there, even though it did not look pretty all in all for the Jets last night. But, yeah. They go on to lose against the 49ers last night, 32-19 on Monday Night Football. It is not the performance you want to see. Robert Saleh did say afterwards, C-Cat, and I agree with him, he feels better on this Tuesday than he did the Tuesday of last year following a win on Monday Night Football against the Bills, and that's because at least you know you still got a quarterback.
I hope so, yeah. That makes sense. That was one of the darkest days in Jets history, no?
Yeah, but they got to win. They got to win.
I guess so.
I'm not saying right or wrong. I mean, some coaches, winning isn't everything. It's the only thing, right? Like, some coaches would take the dub. Like, the Packers are on the other side of the fence. The Packers took a loss, and they lost their quarterback for a few games, we think, right now, in Jordan Love, who has the sprained MCL. But, yeah, so for the Jets, and specifically today is going to be a fun show today, C-Cat. Number one, Tina is back. So when we kick off the happy hour in about 45, 50 minutes, Tina has returned from her bachelorette trip. So we cannot wait to pick her brain and get her to snitch on everybody that was on the trip, because we had a bunch of teammates that were actually out there as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
the rumor mill is absolutely churning.
Oh, yeah. Based on the text she sent us and one specific line in that text, we're going to drill her, because we know something must have shook out based off of something she told us in that text. She gave herself away. It was a little Freudian of Tina in the wild. So we'll get with her later. Plus, we have Mike Tannenbaum joining the show, former Jets GM, NFL insider for ESPN, and our friend here on Theoretically Speaking. He's going to pop up in a few to break down week 1 of the NFL season, because this is the time for overreactions. This is the time for, if you were 100% certain that one thing was going to happen and you saw maybe like even a 5% chance in week 1 that it's leaning in that direction, confirmation bias kicks in. Confirmation bias just takes over your brain, and you start really, really believing and fortifying yourself in these opinions. It's Overreaction Tuesday after week 1 of the NFL. But the way we're going to code it today, C-Cat, is going to be a lot more fun than just an Overreaction Tuesday.
We're creative.
We're a little creative here on Theoretically Speaking. We've been doing this thing over 100 episodes. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube, and maybe you'll be with us for the 200th episode, 300th episode. Here's how we're kicking it off. Every statement you make today about what happened in the NFL from week 1, you have to phrase it like this. I know it was only one game, but, and for me, right off the back of Monday Night Football, I know it was only one game, but the New York Jets look like an abject, absolute, hot, flaming mess. Right out of the gates, right in prime time, right after we found out Christian McCaffrey would not be suiting up for the 49ers and you thought the Jets would have a break. They were 4.5-point dogs on the road against the 49ers team that all offseason were dealing with contract disputes from their best players. We're dealing with Christian McCaffrey injuries. We're dealing with the fact that they played all the way up through the final game of the NFL season in the Super Bowl and had the ultimate collapse, because not only did you not perform well enough, well, you had 2 guys on a Netflix documentary that were mic'd up, so we got to follow that journey all the way through, and it was very public just how little knowledge everyone on that 49ers team had about the rules of overtime, literally in the biggest game of their careers. Kyle Shanahan and the rest of the Niners gang, I've been saying it all offseason, are gearing up for and look like they're in lockstep for a Super Bowl hangover, just like what happened last time they lost to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. But the Jets didn't even give us enough to really test the Niners in a way that would bear any of that out. I'm looking at some of the stats from last night. And again, it was a 32-19 loss. It wasn't even that close. 32-19 loss for the New York Jets. The Jets defense, which last year, C-Cat, was the only strength that they had. Maybe the special teams as well, with Gibson running back punts and kicks. The Jets defense was their only strength. It was the only thing you can count on. They allowed 8 straight scoring drives against that Niners team that was without its most impactful player in Christian McCaffrey. 8 straight scoring drives they allowed. They hadn't done that in 45 years. Robert Saleh's a defensive-minded head coach. That defense is young. It is paid well. You got DJ Reed, who just got a bit of a bag. You got a lot of guys that refortified that front. I know that Hassan Reddick is still not playing football for the Jets right now, but you are supposed to have it all intact, at least on that side of the ball. I get that the offense was a bit clunky, but they also missed 18 tackles, according to Pro Football Focus. What that tells me is that's a Jets defense that I don't know if they were counting on Aaron Rodgers to come and save the day. I don't know if the 49ers were just that much more dominant and pushed them into positions where they fell to the pure will of the Niners, because that's what it felt like at times during that game. But I can excuse like a bit of inconsistency from your offense. I can excuse Aaron Rodgers looking a little trepidatious in the pocket and being afraid of getting injured again. What I can't excuse is 18 missed tackles, 8 straight scoring drives allowed to a 49ers team who had Brandon Ayuk dropping balls in the end zone. Trent Williams, the left tackle, who I said Christian McCaffrey's the most impactful player on that offense. Trent Williams is the most important. That dude hadn't even had a week of practice or so. And y'all look like that against that offense. The Jets defense should be ashamed of themselves. New York looks like an abject hot mess right now. And for Robert Saleh, who feels better today than he did 365 days ago because at least he knows he has his quarterback, if he doesn't get that defense in line to at least compete, it ain't going to matter if you got a quarterback or not. I still have the Jets winning the AFC East and getting bounced really early in the playoffs. But I know it's only one game. They got a lot to clear up out there in East Rutherford, New Jersey, and it's going to start with that defense. But I did like, C-Cat, you agreed with me. I did kind of get a little tingly.
Yeah, I got tingly.
A little excited when I started seeing that Aaron Rodgers to Garrett Wilson connection. Man, that was beautiful.
It was beautiful. I was shocked to see they only had 11 targets in that game. It felt like a lot more because they all came in that first drive, essentially.
Yeah.
And Aaron Rodgers didn't play the whole game. He was out that last series. You got to see Tyrod Taylor on the field.
He looked good.
He looked good. I loved what I saw from Garrett Wilson and Aaron Rodgers. If you drafted them in fantasy or if you're betting on Garrett Wilson props in 2024, you should be very excited and very happy. The new look, too, with the longer jersey.
Yeah.
The sleeves, the
loose
jersey
sleeves,
hanging.
yeah.
I like it distinguishable. It makes him a little bit different. I appreciate it.
It is a bit different, and a lot of people are trying to differentiate themselves, and Garrett Wilson is a guy who they put that stat up for Garrett Wilson. He's caught, I believe, like 170 or 180 balls from 7 different quarterbacks in his young career so far, and he's still on his rookie deal, still with the same team that drafted him, which is just amazing from a guy like that who's had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons with, a hodgepodge of mediocre quarterbacks. I don't even say mediocre, like literally the floor when it comes to quarterback play in New York so far. That's what has me so optimistic about this team. I think that's why I'm overreacting now to one game, because if things don't change on the defensive side and if the Jets are actually relying on Aaron Rodgers to be good, if they're relying on him to be near his MVP level, I don't see that happening. I think this offense can click and be, an above-average unit. But my whole belief process on all of this was all hinged on that defense being dominant. And they looked way better last year with most of the same parts than they do this year. And I don't know if Hassan Reddick comes in and changes that. I know that C.J. Mosley missed some time, the linebacker in this game. So I don't know what they're going to have to shore up to be better on that end. But I do know that after one game against a team that I expected to come out flat, against a 49ers team that didn't even have their best stuff last night. They didn't even have their best stuff. Let's hear it, though, because, C-Cat, before we took on Monday Night Football, you and I agreed we wanted to listen to the main broadcast. We wanted to listen to Joe Buck call Monday Night Football. I'm starting to shift gears and kind of turn, and maybe I'm going to be a Manning Cast viewer going forward because I know it's only one game, but that breakdown from the Mannings and Bill Belichick last night during that Garrett Wilson fade route on 3rd and long from Rodgers to Wilson, oh man, that got me going.
Hey, they went a little no huddle right here. They went a little no huddle.
Yeah, no huddle dummy snap count so he can see what the defense is doing. Right, yeah, he's doing 2 leg kicks. That's his version of a hard count in the silent count. He knows what the defense is doing, so he can audible, just like Bill said, to a play. He's calling a man beater, slot fade, back shoulder.
3-by-0, man, coverage.
Nice catch.
Now, of course, you couldn't necessarily see through this medium, but yeah, Peyton Manning literally called things out as Aaron Rodgers was doing it. And we know what was Peyton Manning's biggest strength. It wasn't his arm. It wasn't his mobility. It was his ability to literally read the defense pre-snap and make adjustments. That was his bread and butter.
That's how I think I sound when I mansplain football to my girlfriend. Got press coverage, top of the screen. Watch out. Here comes the fade. I can feel it. Yeah, and I don't sound nearly as smart, obviously, because I don't have a percentage of the knowledge that Peyton Manning does, but it makes me feel better.
You know, you're right. It does feel excruciatingly good to call something in a football game, especially right alongside your lady, to call something and then it happens. Like when you call something during a football game live and you're next to your lady, maybe even at a party, and it happens as you kind of drew it up, it doesn't even have to sound as smart as Peyton Manning made it sound right there. You're still the man. You deserve to strut.
At a watch party where, like, you're the one who's most into sports out of everyone else there, maybe it's a Super Bowl party, and everyone's very casual. They probably watch the playoffs and the Super Bowl, and you know something and you show that, and it calls it, it feels good. It
feels so good. There's barely any other better feelings in the world. I mean, obviously the perfect golf shot. You can't really beat that. A swish of a basketball net that's a chain net. A swish of a basketball net that's a chain net. That sound right there, it really gets my dopamine running through my brain there. But then,
car starting when you don't know if it's going to start, or you're having car trouble, or maybe a battery problem, and it does start.
I had a problem with my car back in college where it was a little red 06 Nissan Sentra, and it had a squeaky belt. You know a squeaky belt. When you start it up and you start hearing it, it's like really loud. So, but it would only do it sometimes. It was like a 30% chance every time I started my car that the squeaky belt thing would happen. And again, in college, you're around a lot of people, and there's a lot of women around sometimes when you start your car. There's a lot of there's a lot of shame with that. So the times that I would start it and there were people around and the belt didn't go off, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's bad.
I felt so good.
My old car.
I'm talking about the times that the belt didn't squeak on me. Yeah, it was like, because you're anxious.
You got away with it. They don't know how much piece of crap this car is.
Yeah.
Up until November of last year, I was driving a really old car, a car hand-me-down from my mom, an 08 SUV. And the muffler was kind of loose. So for some reason, when you would start the car, it would vibrate and make a really loud noise when it was idling. It wouldn't make the same noise when the car was actually moving when it was idling for some reason. And my girlfriend's parents would talk so much crap in Spanish about my car.
Dang, you couldn't even understand what they were saying.
Because I would be sitting outside waiting to pick her up from her mom's place, and it would be so loud because I'd leave the car on. You could hear me pulling up before I even text her to come outside. But you're right.
You got parked down the street, bro.
Yeah, it's tough.
That's a bad look. If I was a dad and the guy picking up my daughter was pulling up and his car was broke down every time he pulled, I'll be like, you're not taking my daughter out in that thing.
Well, you see, not to get too off topic, but the situation calls for it because my high school girlfriend.
Yeah.
I had to have her dad on the phone with me talking me through to do an oil change to her car.
Oh, man.
We were going to a Yankees game for my birthday gift.
Yeah.
It was a hot July summer day, and she called me in a panic with check engine lights on or whatever. And then she calls her because I don't know about cars. I don't know nothing about cars.
I understand, man.
So she stopped at the local supermarket, picked up the oil. I didn't empty any oil. I just poured new oil in. But that was very emasculating.
Yeah, that's tough. That is a tough scene. Even hearing it right now, I'm getting secondhand embarrassment.
I couldn't get the oil cap off. I had to get like a big wrench to like get leverage to get the oil cap off because it was so tight onto it. So I'm on the phone with the dad. I can't get it off.
You know we're on the radio right now, right? People are hearing you say these things about yourself. This is
Yeah, it's worse than when you need to like hand someone else the pickle jar. Like it was excruciating.
Yeah. And then he walked you through it.
He walked me through it on the phone. It took way too long because I never actually emptied the oil out. It took like 20 minutes.
Was his last step, and go ahead and drop my daughter back off and lose her number.
It should have been. I'm sorry, Paul Malone.
Yeah.
That's his real name. Yeah, sorry.
You just oh, my gosh. Christian Cat
Paul's a good guy, though. I like Paul.
Yeah, I'm sure he is.
Extremely Irish.
Yes.
He was a Steelers fan, and so I'm a Ravens fan, so he hated me for that reason. But he DVR'd a Ravens game one night for I could watch it when I got there.
That was extremely nice of this guy.
Yeah, it was.
Well, big shout out to Paul. Is he related to Post?
No.
Post's father as well?
No,
you dating Post's sibling?
Unfortunately not.
Unfortunately not. Okay, well, back to the original scheduled programming before we realized that, C-Cat, lost his manhood before he even really gained it in high school, asking a brother how to help change the oil of his daughter as he was taking him out. That's a little sad. What is also sad is the fact that there are many teams that are already down in the dumps, whether it's the Giants, who don't really understand how the heck they're going to get through 16 more games with that kind of abysmal quarterback play, whether it's a team like the Arizona Cardinals, who are running into that same wall that you've had before, where it's electric play, it's a fun offense, but you're not finishing games and getting wins. What is your overreaction from week one? And you have to phrase it, just like I said, right here on Theoretically Speaking. I know it's only one game, but 888-760-3776, 888-760-3776. That's the number to the Baptist Health Hotline to call in to Theoretically Speaking. I know it's only one game. I know it was one outing. It's just week one. But how do you feel? Baptist Health Orthopedic Care. Are you experiencing foot and ankle pain and need to see an expert in the field? Baptist Health Orthopedic Care has a team of foot and ankle orthopedic surgeons and specialists who are regarded as leaders in their specialty. Visit baptisthealth.net/ortho to learn more today. Baptist Health Orthopedic Care combines its resources of experienced physicians and leading-edge treatments and technology to provide advanced orthopedic, foot and ankle, joint replacement, spine, and sports medicine care. Visit baptisthealth.net/ortho for more information today. Baptist Health Orthopedic Care got offices conveniently located in Palm Beach County through the Florida Keys. Learn more by visiting baptisthealth.net/ortho. And I will say, I'm glad, C-Cat, that you did ask for help. You were man enough, you were wise enough, you were mature enough to ask for help in changing that oil instead of just screwing it up. And then you got a bigger problem on your hands. Sometimes asking for help does end up being the better case scenario.
I accepted the help. I didn't ask for the help.
She
called on the way. So, I walked outside, and she had her pops on the phone already.
That is a bad sign, because also that shows that she had just a lack of overall confidence in your ability to do it in the first place.
Yeah, that was tough.
Okay. Okay. Breathe. It's okay. We're far from that now. That girl is gone from your life, and so is Mr. Malone. I know it was only one game, but C-Cat, how are you overreacting from week one of the NFL?
I know it was only one game, but Josh Allen's going to win the unanimous NFL MVP.
Wow.
He's doing it all himself, and he's going to continue doing it all himself. Against the Cardinals, pretty good offense. They scored 28 against him. He scored 4 touchdowns on his own, putting up 34 for the Bills. Had a hand problem. That's okay, because that's why you have Josh Allen on your team. He's just a giant giraffe who just takes blows, deals with it, and moves on. He's not injury-riddled because he's tougher than the other quarterbacks. That's why I love Josh Allen and what he brings to the Bills franchise. That's why I think he's going to bring the Bills to the Super Bowl, not just playing the game and to win the game. I love what I saw from Josh Allen.
So I will say this, and I'm glad you put this as your overreaction from week one, because, number one, have we ever for a moment just stopped and considered the competition? Name 2 dudes on the Cardinals defense. Because all I got is Budda Baker.
You took mine.
Exactly.
Patrick Peterson's still there. That's what I thought of when I thought Cardinals. Oh, you know what? How about the linebacker they draft from Tulsa?
Or no.
Linebacker they draft from Tulsa. Forgot his name, so it doesn't count.
Exactly.
Xavier Collins, maybe.
Maybe. You could have just said a name. You just say a name. Just saying that he could have been on the Cardinals defense, and that exactly is why I wouldn't overreact to the Bills outlasting the Cardinals in a shootout. Because, number one, you have to, if you're going to win MVP, you got to win 11 games or so. You got to win 10 or 11 games to go along with your good stat line if you're Josh Allen. And number two, and that means your defense has to be good. You should be able to stop a Cardinals offense who couldn't get the ball to their number one option in their top 4 overall draft pick in Marvin Harrison, but one time in that game. And a team that honestly is kind of fresh. That whole offense is kind of fresh as Kyler Murray tries to figure some things out there in Arizona. I would have expected, if you're going to take that pick, if you're going to feel that way about the Bills after week 1, I would have expected it to happen in a more dominant fashion. They snuck by. I was going to go squeezed, but I know squoke.
Squoze.
They squozed by the Cardinals, and that's just, to me, that I would be feeling the opposite way.
Every time I see Josh Allen, I feel like he gets better. He made less mistakes on week 1 this year than he did week 1 last year, and so on, and so forth, and so on, and so forth.
What did he play last year week 1? The Jets. They forced him in. See, that's the thing, too, with Josh Allen, is a team that forces him into mistakes, that a team that threatens him and makes him try them. That's when he starts to get into that volatile bag of, again, similar to you on that back 9 a few weeks ago, just throwing up all over himself.
And also, we got better throughout the game. 3 of the 4 touchdowns came in the 4th and 3rd quarter in the second half. Josh Allen is the reason the Bills will be a division-winning team, and that is why he is going to win the MVP this year.
Absolutely insane.
It's a regular season award, so you can poke holes into the Super Bowl claim because that would mean he'd run through the AFC. But I think regular season-wise, Josh Allen, MVP, I can see it already. He hasn't really won it yet. He hasn't really gotten many votes yet just because of where he's playing, the time of which he's playing.
Yeah.
I think it's easy.
I'll seed you this. At least you have a buddy in Evan Cohen on Unsportsmanlike. 6 to 10 a.m. weekdays here on ESPN 106.3. Also joins us weekly, who also feels that same way and's been feeling that way about Josh Allen in the offseason. I've got to see more, and I got to see it against better competition. We'll see what he does Thursday night against the Dolphins.
You can't say I've got to see more. The whole premise of segment 1, I know it's only one game.
You're right. I'm not saying you're wrong for saying it. I'm just saying, me personally, I don't have that overreaction. I still feel fortified in the fact that Josh Allen is going to go 9-8 this year, and he's going to show you why you should not be heavily leaning on a guy that's as inconsistent as he is in big spots.
So you thought that Josh Allen should not have put his team, or really that team should not be in a place to trailing by a touchdown at halftime to the Cardinals?
They were down 14 to the Cardinals, weren't they? Like at one point, and they were trailing at the half. Like I do not think that the Bills should be in that situation. Also, if you're Josh Allen and you're really that kind of guy, I know it's just week 1, but that Cardinals defense, it should be available to be had.
Who's it throwing to?
Keon Coleman, Dalton Kincaid. He's handing it off to what's his name back there, James Cook. He is Josh Allen. He's supposed to be running it in like he did twice.
And he did.
Yeah, he did.